19 specialties on our team. Please do not ask me to name all of them because I'm not going to remember them. But we have physicians, we have paramedics, we have hazardous materials, we have water rescue, heavy rescue, structural specialists, water ops, we have, yeah, I think I hit all those. Canine search specialist, which is what we do. Tech search specialist, and again, we'll walk through that progression and what that looks like, as well as managers and planning and all of those kinds of things. But really the idea is, when we go out in a type 1 configuration, for those of you who haven't talked to FEMA typing, the lower the number, the more capable you are. So a type 1 team is about 82 people and about $6 million worth of equipment. Our type 1 team, when it rolls down the road, is about, our convoy is about a quarter mile long. 2 semis, 2 box trucks, 11 personnel carriers, 2 trucks, or 4 trucks carrying trailers. We're huge. We're huge when we roll down the road and make a huge footprint. It's a huge asset when we get into the area. We have to have a large parking lot or high school or something to stage in while we're in the area. But that's all we need. All we need is space. We have all of our own. We have tents, we have cots, we have food, we can feed ourselves for 2 weeks. We are fully independent for 2 weeks in a disaster area. The idea being that we can save those resources for the people that are impacted while we're doing search and rescue. That's our whole job. So, and that's what we do. That's our mission as a task force in FEMA. What that means is single mission with multiple elements. So we're gonna go to an area and they can task us with an apartment complex. Some of you heard about the Sunrise Metro Complex collapse a couple years ago. They used our teams on that. We could be assigned something like that, and it is basically find everybody and get them out. That's your job, go do it, and we have all of the specialists that we need to do that.
How many of these teams are there?
We have 28 federal teams. Utah Task Force 1 is one of 28. I couldn't necessarily place all of them. Several in California, a couple in Virginia. Yeah. You heard about the hurricane that hit Jamaica. We do have 2 international teams, so USA 1, USA 2, they went to Jamaica. USA 1 is California, USA 2 is Virginia. So they took the same team, but took it internationally with all the same capabilities.
How many dogs on each team?
12 total dogs. What's that?
Up to.
Up to 12, yeah, I should say.
Okay.
We can support up to 12 dogs, that's 10 live find, which is what Forrest does, and 2 human remains detection, which is what Swayze does. Currently our team, I think we do have 10 lives right now, right? Are we full?
Almost. I think
Okay.
it's 9.
And 1 human remains detection with a few that we're trying to get up to the certification level. The thought process behind that is my window for work, my dog's window for work is very narrow. We can be on the ground and working in 48 to 72 hours from a no-notice event, so that's like an earthquake, shakes a building to the ground, building comes down, whatever. We can be on the ground and working in 72 hours. But imagine if somebody's been buried for 72 hours, our window for survival is very narrow, very, very narrow. So we want as many dogs so we can get into an area as fast as we can to get working. On the flip side, once we lose someone and we're trying to recover and make sure everybody gets their loved ones home, whether they survive, if they didn't survive, we have a little more time so we can bring in more dogs. So that's why the system is set up the way that it is. But yeah,
we bounce around and get attached to a task force somewhere.
When we get the call, we have approximately 4 hours to report to the warehouse, get checked in, and get rolling towards wherever the disaster is. So we are definitely the tip of the spear asset. Yeah, so our specialty, so search element, that's what we do. The search element is made up of canines and technical search. Our canines are capable of clearing large areas in short periods of time. You'll see it today. We'll clear a room in a matter of a couple of minutes. We could clear an average sized neighborhood in a very short period of time, a couple hours probably. So imagine what that would take. Imagine even just a collapsed building, how long humans would take passing over that building, searching through the rubble. Imagine how long that would take, right? But if we put our dogs over the top of that, I mean, a single collapsed structure we could clear within a matter of minutes. Our dogs can give us a pretty good indication of whether there's any live humans in there or not.
Depending on depth of.
Right, depth, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. But then once our dogs have indicated, then we have our tech search specialist, which is the other side of the coin, how I started with the task force. And that is probing the pile with microphones and cameras. We have microphones that can hear the slightest tap from hundreds of feet away. I actually was using it when we did a deployment exercise to Texas, and somebody was sitting against a wall on the far side of the building, just kind of tapping their finger, and I could hear it from the other side of the building, so I knew that there was somebody in there. So yeah, so that's what we do, and then once that's located, we have our heavy rescue specialists. So,
Do you have like small cameras you can feed down through the
I do.
debris?
I have small and large cameras that I can probe deep, several dozen feet into a structure.
That's nice on it. It looks
yeah,
crazy when you see it going through. It's like,
It's got a microphone and a speaker, so if I find somebody, I can talk to them, they can talk to me. And then we can, more importantly, we can guide our rescue specialists in, because they're using heavy equipment, breaking, breaching, cutting. So we can tell them like, whoa, 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 your saw is getting really close to that person's fingers, like back it off, back it off.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of the tech search specialist secondary role is to guide that extrication process.
Dogs just go by smell?
Dogs are totally guided by smell, yeah, absolutely. So the reality is that's why you're here. So did you want to talk a little bit about dogs? You want me to keep going?
I don't know if they have questions or.
So, yeah, absolutely.
There's some states that don't have teams like this.
Yes.
So federally, yes, there are several teams. And there
It
are,
takes a fire department, right, to say they'll sponsor it, and it has to be a larger metropolitan area,
yeah,
right?
so most of our teams are supported by large fire departments. So like Utah Task Force 1 is driven by Unified Fire, which is the fire department for Salt Lake now, well, it used to be Salt Lake County Fire, but also supported by every fire department within Salt Lake County boundaries. Salt Lake City is who I work for, we support the task force. Sandy, West Jordan, South Jordan. We also have firefighters from Park City, many surrounding departments. New York Task Force 1 is supported by FDNY, NYPD. California 2, that USA 1, they're supported by LA County Fire Department, which is a gigantic fire department. So that's kind of the level of staffing we need to support those.
Does a combo of state, county, federal,
So
support?
we are available as a state asset. We're supported by FEMA, but we're a state asset as well. We can bring that to
The
bear.
funding comes from FEMA.
But the funding comes from FEMA. Yeah. So if we deployed into the state, then the state would pay for the cost of the team to come, which is ridiculously expensive. A Type 1 USAR task force costs about $3.5 million a week to operate, and that's mostly personnel costs. So you can imagine how short we're out, because if they don't need us, they like to send us home.
Makes sense.
But there are state teams. We aren't the FEMA system is not the only search and rescue system. There are state teams. I was just back in South Carolina training earlier this year. South Carolina has a team that is only dedicated to the state because they have so many hurricanes, so they have their own teams.
North Carolina has, I think, 8 or 9
yeah,
state urban.
Texas has
teams.
multiple state teams that are as capable, and some I would argue maybe even more capable than we are.
Because they go out the door all the time.
The Hurricane Central, man, they work all the time. So there's multiple levels to the system, but FEMA is kind of that top level of the system. So
Do you do wilderness search for individuals?
I don't. We have wilderness teams around. Our dogs have a limited capability to do like a wilderness wide area. The problem is for me, my dog, I have to be myself or somebody who's working with me has to be in the area to hear him bark. Because wilderness dogs have what's called a recall refind. They'll find the person, come back and tell the handler, and take the handler to the person. My dog doesn't do that. My dog just barks, and he'll bark until somebody comes and gives him his toy, because that's what he wants. He wants his toy. So we have some ability to do wilderness, but only in kind of limited
There's
capability.
a little more crossover in the cadaver dog realm. It's a little bit different, but.
Yeah. So Kate's done some work, some wide area search and some crime scene work, and so yeah, we get the work all the time, but we're really primarily focused on urban search. So we'll do collapsed buildings, flooded neighborhoods. Those are the kinds of things that we tend to focus on. Yeah.
That's another question there.
Yeah, how do you get started training a dog for this? Do you, does it start with the dog who has an aptitude, or do you apply and you get it as like a service dog, or?
Yes.
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 There are. Yeah.
So there's a few different, roads, and we actually have opposite.
Yeah, we're on two different paths.
So you can train your own dog, or you can get a pre-trained dog from a facility. There are a few facilities nationwide that they run off grants, they'll train a dog, then they'll pair it with a first responder, and then they'll come be a team. Kind of getting on is a little bit different situation. I started in wilderness search and rescue in California when I lived in LA. And so I knew FEMA was a thing, and I thought that'd be cool to get into. Found some FEMA handlers, and we'll use FEMA and USAR kind of interchangeably. It's the same situation. So started training with them, and then got a dog, and was getting onboarded to a task force in California, and then I moved back home here, and then got kind of laterally transferred over. So yeah, I've kind of
So
depends.
we're, as a task force, we typically don't accept civilians. We only have a few positions on the team that are civilian. Canine is one of them. And typically, if we take a civilian, it's someone with an aptitude, like Kate, who's trained dogs before, she has some public safety background as well. So somebody who has that aptitude but has trained their own dog. Whereas for me, I was selected for the team a long time ago, long before I was even thinking about being a handler. And then as I got down the road, I said, hey, handling a canine would be fun. And so they sent me to the Search Dog Foundation, which is a nonprofit out in Southern California who rescues dogs, because our dogs make terrible pets. If they don't have jobs, they suck as pets. Forrest hasn't worked in a week. He drives me crazy. He's the worst. He would not want my dog. But if he's working, he's great. He's a perfect dog. He goes out, he works, he comes home, he sleeps, he curls up on the couch. He's a great dog. So they identify those dogs that are probably going to be frequently returned to shelters because people just don't have the bandwidth for them. And they turn them into search dogs, and that's where Forrest came from. He was rescued out of Oregon, and they identified quickly that he had the drive, the traits that we look for. He's not afraid of going across really uncomfortable, really crappy surfaces just to get his toy. That's fine with him. He doesn't care. He would deal cards if he could to get his toy. He doesn't care what it takes. So they train them up, and then they actually commit to that dog to be in the system for life. So even if they don't make it as a search and rescue dog, they will find another job for them. Or an active home that's willing to go out running with them and all those fun things. But Forrest passed and he qualified and was given to me free of charge. And he's mine. I mean, he's not officially mine until he retires. Once he retires, he will be mine. But he lives with me, he goes to work with me, he travels with me. He flies at my feet under the seat in front of me. So he is mine, but not technically. But those are really kind of the two paths that we send people down to get dogs.
Getting them
I
as
think I
a
have one
civilian.
of those dogs.
Yeah, they are.
Pretty sure.
Yep, dogs, if they can't get the positive attention of doing what you want them to do, they will seek the negative attention of what you don't. And Forrest is absolutely one of those dogs. Once he's been bored for about a week, he's a counter surfer. So
No, if you don't give them a job,
yeah, if you don't give them a job, they'll make one. They will absolutely make a job for themselves. So, and they're great tools. I always like to talk a little bit about their scent detection and how great their noses are. Imagine, if you will, the most sensitive laboratory equipment that we have measures scent in parts per million, right? One molecule per 1 million molecules of air. That's the most sensitive laboratory equipment we have. We estimate, because we don't know, that our dogs smell in the parts per billion range. We don't entirely know what they smell. I don't know how my dog
wish we could ask.
knows that somebody's alive and knows that her stuff is dead and just walks past it. I don't know. I can't ask him. He can't tell me. But I do know that he'll usually walk right over the top of dead stuff and go bark at somebody who's alive. And her dog will walk right past live people like, I don't care about you with this dead thing over here. I want it. So we don't totally understand how that works. But I've been told by those who study such things that if you imagine as you're making food, like when you walk into a house, you smell spaghetti, right? So when your dog walks into the house, they smell the recipe, but not only the recipe, but the atoms of the recipe that you put together. And that's how they...
Ingredient, how much.
Yep. And so what we've done is said, hey, when you get this one ingredient, you're going to bark. And if you do, you'll get a toy. So that's how we train our dogs. That's really what we focus on. But that's why they're so helpful for us. We still don't totally understand scent and how it moves and how it works. We do our best. But our dogs, I don't know about you, but my dog constantly surprises me about where he finds scent and how he does his job. And how he works his way to scent. It doesn't...
Can he search for a specific individual or just for a person in general?
No, you see like acclimated to a scent, right? Like here's this clothing, go find this one person. But no, my dog is not trained in that. My dog is looking for the scent of a live human being that he can't see. So you'll see, we'll take you over to the tower, we'll do a little demo today, and you'll see when I send him to look, he'll probably make the rounds. Okay, I know you, 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 but I can see you, and that's not what I'm looking for, but there's still this one smell, and I can't find that, and I don't see them, so I'm gonna go find them. So, so that's...
And Kate, your dog could find 3 drops of blood on a football field, is that true?
1 drop, yeah.
1 drop? Oh my,
Yeah.
okay.
Or a teaspoon of sugar in a Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, we can't even fathom disability. Like, we're not even close. So we just go, okay, go and do.
Go do,
the
and-
thing.
And so Kate, today to simulate human remains, what do you have?
actual human remains.
Okay.
So, yes, so, there are pseudo scents out there, people make fake things, like for narcotics and explosives, there are pseudo odors that they make. None of the pseudo cadaver odors have ever been proven as legit, meaning dogs that are trained on only pseudo odors do not recognize real human remains in the real world. So, what we end up getting are people who have donated their bodies to research and education, and we get to utilize them to train the dogs. It's kind of fun. It's like pretty fun afterlife, I
It
feel
is.
like.
It is.
So,
And like surgeries too, we actually have a member of our team who had a knee replacement, and now his knee is one of the things that Swayze searches
he
for.
got told not,
So-
yeah, he got told not to cadaver dog to find himself.
Yeah.
Which I thought I got a kick out.
That's
Wow.
Yeah, so anything, I mean, like, we'll use teeth, like when we deploy, we usually don't like fly with human remains, so people will bring like a wisdom tooth that's been pulled out, throw that in a field, and they'll find that. Typically, that's not super ideal for a disaster environment in terms of recoverable tissue. We'll be searching all day to find that, so we do have some parameters by which, you know, if a dog can't find something that small, I mean, how are we really gonna find it, you know, so.
We're really looking for recoverable remains that we
Yeah.
can identify and give families closure and bring people on.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
So tell us, you went, wasn't specifically you, but we had a team go out and the dog alerted on a dead animal,
Someone's-
right?
Oh, so yes,
That it wasn't supposed to be alert.
Well, and so Hurricane Helene, I think I know what you're talking about. Hurricane Helene, there was a handler from Florida and her dog alerted. We're talking about big, huge green waste piles with houses in them, huge. And so a dog alerted.
A live fine dog.
Well, this was a cadaver dog. The one I'm talking about. I don't know.
Oh,
What
the
are
one
you
I was
talking
talking about alerted on a deer, and they finally pulled the deer off, and there was a body underneath. Oh,
Yes.
that's it.
Yeah,
That's
this
it.
was a
Oh
cadaver
yeah,
dog.
the cadaver.
So her dog alerted. They started delayering, and they found a deer, and they were like, "Oh, it's a deer." And she's like, "No, keep going." And they kept going, and there was a deceased individual.
Okay,
on
that's
it.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and what we do, we proof our dogs off of other decomposing organisms, right? So like we're not the only things that put off putrescine and cadaverine. So there is some overlap there with cadaver dogs, right? Your rotting freezer full of deer meat in Hawaii is gonna have some overlap in target odor, volatile organic compounds, so we call them VOCs, to cadaver, to a dead human being.
Okay.
So again, I wish I knew how they
Yeah, we-
did it.
Amazing.
But my dog does not, I mean, she's been over in real life deployments, I mean, tons of dead animals and food, rotting meat, like everything. And so and we proof them off that, we train them, they get tested off of those things. So when we go on a deployment, someone says, oh, it's a dead deer,
No.
I'm like, no, it's not.
No, it's
Like,
not.
and I can say definitively, that's not it, keep going.
Wow.
So that's what we have to have, right? Because we'd be spending, if my dog was alerting on dead dogs, I mean, I don't know how many there were in Maui that we passed, dead chickens, dogs, frogs, deer,
Wow.
meat, you know what I mean? It's just not an effective use of our time if they're gonna alert on,
especially our fire scenes unfortunately contain a whole lot of dead animals, so
yeah.
we have to be very specific. And actually the job of our HR handlers is tougher than live fine. All I have to do is train my dog on a live body. Kate has to train on
Yours is a whole body.
right, a whole body.
90,000
This whole
grams.
thing right here. Kate is training on cremated remains, muscle tissue, organ tissue, skin, fat, all of the different things because we're looking for recoverable pieces. So
Wild
we
different
really,
volumes.
Cremated remains. The dog can find cremated remains.
Yeah.
we actually we responded to Oregon. We did wide area search post fire with our human remains dogs. We did not find anything at that one, but at least as far as what we were looking for. But what we did end up finding for a couple of family was the vases of their people that were left behind. They got lost in the fire. It was burned down, buried in the ashes, and our dogs found those for them so they could recover the remains of their
Happened
people.
in Maui as well.
So as far as petting the dogs, we could do that after they're done working.
Just talk to the handler. The handler will, if the
My
dog's
dog's not
working.
super cuddly until she gets to know
Yeah.
you. I mean, she'll probably want to tug with you. She'll want to play with you. But if you try to pet her, she can like.
And Forrest isn't going to actively run away, but if he's got his toy, he wants to play tug. He doesn't want to be pet.
Tug of war. There we go.
Yeah, tug of war is their game. So that's what our dogs. That's their payday, right? That's what my dog's looking for. we hear every once in a while, people talk about, one of the questions we often get is, dogs get depressed and things like that. Not really, other than they're not finding what they're looking for, right? All my dog knows,
It's a game.
my dog doesn't know training versus real world versus rescues versus finding Kate in a pile. He just knows when I smell a human being and I bark, I get a toy. And after time, when he doesn't get that, he's like, come on, man, like, I'm doing my job. What are you gonna hate me or what?
Yeah, it's kind of
So
like
we do
training
get
for
that.
you're training for like a mini marathon.
Yep.
And then you go into real world and now you're running a marathon and it's
Right.
like you're not ready for that. So we try to.
So, yeah. But then we will plant people, we'll just throw somebody in the pile, like, okay, go hide, give the dog a win, find the toy, okay, now we can go back to working. So we do that a lot.
Oh, good.
Did you have a question over here?
I just had a quick question about the dog and you talked about the type. Is there a certain like size of dog too that you're looking for, or does that play into it at all?
I mean,
Or you just
sort of.
more care about the talent?
I don't know that I can necessarily have a miniature dachshund on the pile. But I mean, our dogs vary in size. My dog is gigantic. My dog is 80 pounds. You'll see Forrest, he's a monster. We have smaller dogs on our team. Swayze's smaller.
It's like 50.
But really what we need them to do is to be able to traverse the terrain, right? As part of our testing, they have to be able to climb an 8-foot ladder. They have to be able to move across moving rubble. So they have to be large enough and sure-footed enough to do that. But I would say our dogs, yeah.
Do that.
Our dogs range, Forrest is about as big as you'll ever see a search and rescue canine. I mean, if he was chubby, he'd be 100 pounds, but he's lean.
Yeah.
Down to 25, 30 pounds. I think 30 is probably the minimum that I would ever see be successful in our realm. Because we also need them to be healthy and muscular, because they have to learn how to use all 4 paws. Dogs are 4-wheel drive, but most dogs don't recognize their back paws as anything more than an engine. So we have to teach our dogs, like, no, you have 4 and you gotta know where they all are all the time. That's why we have to make them climb a ladder. So my dog will climb a 8, 10, 12-foot ladder if I ask him to.
Wow.
He doesn't care, so. Doing those things that dogs don't like to do, but he knows that there's a toy up there or food up there or something that he wants, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anybody wanna know anything more, or do we just wanna go play with the dog?
Let's go play with the dogs.